Hey, Perfect Peep. If you've always wanted to build a Flutter game yourself, this is a perfect opportunity to learn. I sat down with Spydon, one of the maintainers of Flame, the game engine for Flutter. I'm new to Flutter myself, so he walks through it completely. There's also a GitHub repo that you can work through with all of the solutions too in case you run into problems. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, go to codingcat.dev. Git clone Flappy Ember. I like it.
All right, and then you can check out the dev branch first.
Okay, so I will go as big as I can with this as well. If we need
You switched to dev or no? I
I
haven't yet.
No.
Because apparently I had some merge conflicts there, so I just created a new branch and I'll sort those out similarly.
So Pub's running, if you can see it down here. It's already pulling in the correct packages in VS Code because I have the Flutter extension added. So
I was gonna say none of that happened for
yeah.
me.
let me bring up Flutter real quick. So this is the Flutter extension. You're definitely going to want this if you're doing anything in VS Code with Flutter, just like these other 4.5 million downloads, apparently. Holy smokes. That's impressive. So yeah, it's just the main one. I think it's supported by Google.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't remember, but yeah.
I think it is.
Lots and lots of downloads, lots of stars. So good things. All right, so the main, you know what? You talk through it because I'll mess it all up. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So first, try to check out the dev branch if you haven't already.
I think I did. Yeah, we're on.
Okay, you did. Okay, I totally missed that. Then you can open the lib folder there, and or actually we can have since maybe people are new to Flutter here, so we can open the pubspec.yaml file there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So this is the file where all the dependencies in Flutter is stored. So in here, we can actually start by changing this one. Right now, you can see here on line 13, it says Flame there, and it points to our Git repository. So you can remove line 14, 15, 16, and 17 there. And yes, keep Flame there.
Oops, my bad.
And then after Flame, you can write like on the same line.
Oh, okay.
You can write 1.2.1, which is the latest version of Flame. So I guess last time I used this repository,
I hit save.
I needed something from me.
And if you didn't catch it in the bottom right, it already installed.
Yeah. Exactly.
So similar to like node modules, do these end up here?
No, so that's underscore lib, or that I guess that is just some junk that is left there from some other session. They end up in package. Let's see, where are they again? So here is the list of packages that is actually used at the moment, but yeah, they're like stored away in. They might be in Dart tool there, or it's a hidden folder that you can't see right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, but you never have to look in there anyways. When you have to look in there, then your editor will take you there if you have to look.
So unlike Node, occasionally you gotta do RMRF and remove the whole mess and start over.
And not as often as in Node, at least, but sometimes you might get some corrupted packages, but it's quite rare.
Sweet.
So then you can open up the lib directory that we have there.
Okay.
And I have just prepared two files here. We can start with the main file, yeah. So in here, so when you start a Flame game, you don't actually have to know that much Flutter at all if you only want to write the game. Because in Flame, we provide something called the game widget. So usually in Flutter, everything is a widget. And in this widget, that's where all your game is going to live. But then if you want to do more things in Flutter, then you can write menus and things like that in Flutter, because Flutter is very good at doing things like that, but it's not very good at doing game things, because it's Flutter is optimized for the like completely opposite thing that the game engine should be. So Flutter wants to update as seldom as possible, and a game engine wants to update as often as possible together. So that's what we're doing in here, basically.
Just for clarity, for my own sake, everything is written in Dart.
Exactly.
And is Flame engine written in Dart, but it's written for Flutter. Is that the correct way to say it?
Yeah, it's like written in
Like, can you
Dart.
use Flame Engine without Flutter?
No, you cannot.
Okay, perfect.
Because we're getting like our canvas and stuff from Flutter.
All
But
right.
it would be fairly easy to port the Flame to some other like canvas-based system if it
Okay.
would be in Dart, or I guess you could port
Cool.
it to something else too. But
Yeah, I love it. So we imported looks like game from your Flame, Flame/game.
yeah, exactly. So that is providing us with the
So
game widget. There.
anything with a package in it is things that we installed. So we've got Flame, which is the Flame engine. Then we have Flutter for all of the like material layout type things.
Yeah.
Which I have more questions about that, but I'll save them. Hopefully we have time later.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure that's used there. Oh yes, that is providing the run app thing
Okay.
here. So
And then
what run app does here, it starts the whole app, and usually you have lots and lots of things in here, like widgets within widgets, and they have lots of children and stuff. But here we just have a plain game widget, and we throw in a game that we call Flappy Ember here. So if you open the game.dart there, and so this is what a game can like look like.
okay.
Well, a game that doesn't do anything. But
Okay.
we can start to see if your editor is all set up. So if you try to run main here, you should just get the black screen. And usually it's the best is to run on desktop now, actually, when you're sharing.
Okay. Can I do it this way? I don't know. Like run.
It should.
Mac
Yeah,
OS?
exactly. Do that one.
Sure. Without an active device. I don't have. Do I have to run like Flutter start or something like that?
You can, if you go to the terminal, you can do Flutter and create and dot.
So create dot.
Yeah, exactly. It's good that we actually do these things, because then the people watching will not get confused when they get the same problems.
So here's the recreating everything. I've got iOS, I know, kind of out there, and Android. I got Mac running. So is this adding it to our project specifically, not my whole system?
Exactly, only to the project.
Cool.
So you can choose what platforms you want to support, and by default it supports all that are in the stable branch of Flutter, or that are deemed as stable.
I'm gonna try
now,
this again.
Yeah.
Oh no. We have errors.
Okay, what errors could that be then? Okay, so these are, if you go to if you put up the exactly, just remove that whole folder that is called lib2 there.
Okay.
And you can, yeah, so now if you try again.
Building. Okay, so this is where I had issues before, where it didn't want to like run on ARM. So I hope it works though.
Yeah, I think the folks at work, at least, they got it running on M1, and I don't think they had to do anything special. Yeah, there you go. Black screen.
Okay, that's our Flappy Bird. We're done.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun. It's like Flappy Birds in the dark. You can click there and imagine getting points.
Oh my goodness. All right.
So now we can have now we know that works. So that's good. Then if you go back to the tree structure with the files there, then you can see we have an assets folder up there. And if you're like me, you don't have any like graphical skills at all, then there is a really good site called itch.io where you can find like free assets, and you can also find assets that. So I paid like $5 or something to get this like nice little parallax thing here. So you can.
Can you add that to the notes, since I can't open them right now?
On Notion.
Itch.io on Notion.
Yeah,
you're the best.
Each.io.
I think it's H, like the letter H.
No, like itch, like a scratch.
Itch.io.
I sent it in the chat too.
Perfect. Awesome.
And yeah, so if you open, for example, a parallax thing here, you can see that there's a few different images here that we can use later to get a little nice
that's
background
cool.
effect. And then we have our own little Ember here, which we can open, which is something called a sprite sheet. So this is like a very low resolution like pixel art thing. So you can see that there are 4 of them after each other here. So in these sprite sheets for animations, then you basically split it up into 4 parts, and then those ones run quickly after each other, and it looks like an animation on the screen.
Nice. Is this
Nice.
is it always like a PNG? Like I'm so used to working with SVGs on the web now.
It's not always PNGs, but there is no default support for SVGs in Flutter, so it's not very performant to use them in games yet.
Okay.
But there is a package called Flutter SVG, and we have something called Flame SVG, like as a package that you can add to use SVGs. But
cool.
usually people don't do it with SVGs yet, unfortunately.
Sprites are usually in PNG. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Cool.
And yes, I guess we can just start with actually adding that Ember, which is going to be our player to the game. So if you in lib, if you start a new file called player.
Oops. These debug tools always screw with me. I don't like it. Okay, I'm in lib. And I'm going to add a new file. Sorry, player.
Yeah, it's player.dart. Awesome. And so in Flame, pretty much everything is called a component. So in Flutter, everything is a widget, but in Flame, everything is a component.
Okay.
So for this one, we're going to use something called a sprite animation component, which is what it sounds like. For the ones that are not used to game dev, a sprite is basically just an image in fancy game dev terms. I have no idea why it's just not called image, but yeah. So here you can just write like class, player.
Can I cheat and just maybe? Nope, never mind. All right.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you didn't have any class.
Player.
And extends sprite animation component. And it might be able to give you some help there. Exactly, a few down there.
Sweet.
Perfect. So in Flame, when you want to load something in the beginning, then we have a method called onLoad, and this one looks a lot more complicated than it is. So it's like, oh, future void onload. You're like, oh, what is happening here? But usually, like, you don't have to care much about that.
So future, if I remember, is similar to our async process, right?
Yeah, so you can wait for it and stuff. So this is for the engine to be able to wait for all the components, images, and assets to be loaded before it actually tries to show it on the screen. So in onLoad, we can try to load the image that we're going to use. So then you can just do like final image and equals to await. So now we're going to use a call to another future here. And we have Flame.
Feel like that?
Oh, no. The future is in the return type of the call we're going to do. So you can write Flame with a capital F.
Okay.
And then dot without parentheses, dot images and dot load. And now we're going to have the file name that we had there in assets, which was ember.png as a string.
Do we do a relative path for that?
No, it looks in it always looks in assets by default.
Amber, correct?
Ember, like
Ember,
like
right.
a little
Hot
spark.
fire.
Exactly. And that, I don't think it will auto-complete that because it will be a string.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, my bad.
Perfect. And then you can semicolon. Yeah, exactly.
I don't like this await for some reason, but
it's because you have the return before there, I think. And you can and they're onLoad after onLoad in your function definition there. So before the squiggly bracket, or whatever it's called in English.
Sorry.
Oh yeah,
here?
you can put that one there, but we have to add the async keyword after onload. So that's like so go up 2 lines.
Oh, after unload.
Exactly, but after the parentheses too.
Oh, okay.
And async.
Okay, so very similar to JavaScript, except async
Exactly.
would go before the function at that point.
Yeah. So
And
that's probably something people would be confused by
yeah,
too.
if you're coming from like JavaScript land and you don't write class-based, you can think of these classes as just kind of a wrapper for now, if you don't know it. And then these are called methods on classes, but those can kind of be equated to functions if you use those. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, methods just comes from when Java started doing object-oriented programming. Then they were like, no, we want to call this something else, and they started calling it methods, and now people are confused. What is a method and what is a function?
Yeah, there's very specific things behind them, but we won't get into that. I learned Java first in university, so hopefully this will all come slowly back to me.
Yeah. So now we have our image here. And then, so the sprite animation component, it is already set up for handling animations. So we just have to tell it what animation it should handle. So you can do animation equals to.
Is it a class that we're...
No, it's a field on the class you have extended. So you should do animation and then equals to, and then sprite animation with the capital S and A. So sprite animation. Yep, no worries. So what you did now is what you would have done if it was a sprite component, because then it's just a static image, but now we're going to do an animation. So in the sprite animation, you can, instead of using the default constructor, you can use the from frame data. So sprite animation dot from frame data. And then in that one, we can define like how many images that are going to be in that sequence, etc. But the first argument it takes is the image. So you can just write image there. Image, like only image. So it refers to your variable that you have above there. And then after that, yes, comma, and then we need to define how this animation should look. And you do that from sprite animation data. So you can write sprite animation data, just like you wrote, yeah, exactly like that. And then dot from frame data. And this looks, this is probably like the most of a mouthful or whatever you should say that we will write today, but it's necessary. And then parentheses and wait, sprite animation data. Oh no, not from frame data. It should be sequenced. And if we looked on the image, we saw that there were 4 images in there, I think, after each other. So then in amount there, you write 4. And in step time, that means how long it should be between each like step. And it's in seconds. Yeah, it's in seconds. So you can do like 0.10, for example, or 0.1. So then it will run quite quickly. And the texture size is, so if we don't want to open up it again, I happen to know that it is 16 by 16 pixels, each of these little squares.
Is this a string?
It is something called a vector2, which is an object that we use a lot in Flame. And that also sounds like, oh no, it's like hard and mathy. But the only thing it is a tuple with x and y. So it's just vector2 and parentheses and or dot all 16. But you can do parentheses and just 16, 16. So any of those work. So if you have all, then you only have to write 16 once. But if you have the default constructor, then you write it twice. So you can either remove a 16 or the all. Yeah. And then if I don't know if you have set up so that it formats automatically.
Usually it's prettier. I don't know if it's trying to override what's happening here.
It might be because it is not ready to compile yet. So if you add a semicolon in the end of that, and also add a comma after the 16 there, or after the parentheses after 16.
Okay.
There, yeah. Then, and if you format that, it should look a lot nicer. Boom.
So, quick question: Are semicolons required? Oh, sorry. Are semicolons required in Flutter?
Yeah,
Or
they are, unfortunately.
Okay.
I was when I'm so what I coded most before I started with Dart was Scala, where it's not required, and it takes so much effort to get into writing them again. and then when you go back to Scala now, then where it is optional, then you start accidentally writing the semicolons everywhere. It's super annoying.
For animation, do I need like private, public, or is it just good?
Yeah, it's good. So that field is already defined in sprite animation components. So you're just setting it.
Okay, gotcha.
So that one is it's just
override or something.
Yeah, so that one is already defined. You don't have to. You are not defining whether it should be public or private.
Okay.
So for this, then we can when we need to set what size we want the actual component to be. And to do that, we can go up to the top. So like make a new line on line 5 or so.
Okay.
Before the override.
Yeah, that makes more sense, doesn't it?
And we can use the constructor for that. So we can just write player there first.
Oh, okay.
So in Dart, there's no keyword or anything for the constructor. And then just empty parentheses and then colon. And here we can do, actually, we can use the nice new Dart syntax where, so now we want to do set some things in the super constructor. So you can change that colon to a semicolon instead. And sorry, no, never mind that. Put it back, and and then just write super, and then parentheses, and then we can set the size first. And the size is also in one of these vector2 objects. So you can just write vector2, and then we can say what size we want it to be. So we can say like 100 times 100 pixels, for example. So here you can see the other way you can write the vector.
Yeah.
So down there you wrote all, and you can also write it like that, whatever you feel like.
Cool.
And then we can set, so the default position is 0, 0, which is up in the corner. So now if we add this to the game, then yeah, you can set the position if you want. So you just add a vector there and set, I don't know, 100, 100 or something. So the default one is already 0, 0. So that would have been.
That would have been silly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we have a component that will do something.
Forgot my semicolon. I'm so used to not writing them and prettier putting them in.
Yeah. I'd really hope they remove that at some point, because like with modern compilers, it makes no sense to have.
I know, it's painful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you can go back to main, because now we have written our component here, or actually to the game. I mean, the main one we will pretty much not use anymore. So in here you can add the same class or the same function as we had in the other one, which was onload. So you had a nice little exactly. And then you can just do there where it says implement onload. There you can just do add, and add that adds things to the game or to another component. So it just like brings it into the game.
Okay.
So you can just write add and then create a new instance of player.
You have to import player?
Yes, but it will probably tell you.
Oh, okay. Let's see if it auto.
Yeah. So there are two ways to import, and people, and you have to have a parenthesis on the player so that you create a new instance of it, and then semicolon behind me. So now we have added our first component. Now you can try to. I don't know if you still have maybe you still have the Flutter instance running. Okay, try to rerun it. Yeah. That is another thing that I really hate about macOS.
Oh my gosh, we have
that you can't
Ember.
pin windows on top of other windows. So when you press another window, it always goes back behind everything. But yeah, there it is, our first component. So that is going to be our little player, hopefully.
That's so cool. So now we can like move Ember around, huh?
Exactly. So I mean, right now it doesn't move at all, and but we can we can start by making it move, I guess.
Brittney, have I lost you? Like Brittney's hardcore web, right? Is this okay?
I couldn't install the first thing, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Was it a
I didn't
plugin?
have the SDK installed, so it like wanted me to like install more stuff.
And you gave up.
I gave up.
It did. I was frustrated the other night. It took me a minute to get everything I needed to run Flutter. And that's the thing with like web I think we struggle with. And I just went to a Google developer group meetup last night. And I was like, I just can't get in this Flutter thing. It's so hard to like get everything loaded and run.
Yeah.
And he goes, he's hardcore native and Flutter guy. And he goes, yeah, I feel that way about the web. So I think it's just what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the web, like, it always works in some sense, though. You can always run something because you always have a browser.
Exactly.
But here you need all this.
I mean, we can take a raw HTML file and just like throw it in the browser. And
it was the same thing with trying to write like React Native and anything like native script is like trying to run emulators, all of that stuff. It was not my thing.
Yeah.
I'll just stay quietly in my corner over here.
Or yes, come in with intelligent questions.
Okay.
All right. Should we get it to move a little bit, maybe?
Oh, that would be great.
So what we can start with is, since we will have to call things on the player, we can add a variable outside. So we can go back to game first.
Oh, sorry.
And add like outside of the onload, we can have a variable for player. So just so in Dart there is something called lazy initialization, and that is called late. So you can write late final and then player. So it's a space in between, and small lates. So you wrote this correct first.
Okay.
And then player. And then player again, but not capitalized. Capitalized? Do you say that in English?
Yes. That's good. Yeah.
And then semicolon.
So we're defining, or we're creating a variable of lowercase case player of the type class player.
Exactly. Okay. And right now it isn't set to anything. So if we try to call something on this one, it will get angry. Yeah. So they're on line 11. You can actually, inside of the parentheses of add there, you can just write player equals to that, the outer parentheses.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, am I taking the whole class out like this?
Yeah, we can actually do that. It will be easier for you can keep it like that, and then make a new line above this one.
Okay. Here?
Yeah, and then just do player equals to player capitalized, like an initialization. Yeah, exactly.
Is it weird in Dart? Like, should I put this above everything?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay. Like,
does it matter, or it's just kind of
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just semantically, and like when the files get big, it's like you want them somewhere it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can find it. So for we like in the normal Flappy Birds, I think you can just tap or click to give it a little bounce up, right? So we want to add. So right now we can't take any input into the game. So input is handled in Flame by adding detectors, it's called. So in our Flame game here, we can do add a mix in, which is called tap detector. So after extends flame game there, you can on line 8, you can just write with tap detector.
This is starting to feel very Angular for me as well. Like it's a mix of Java and Angular.
Yeah, got a little bit of everything in there. And then underneath on load, we can override on tap.
Sorry, a new.
Yeah, exactly, under there, and we just override on tap.
Is it over?
I think it will give you the override if you write on tap. It's that's why like the VS Code extension is also really nice.
Oh my gosh,
it just fills everything out for you.
Yeah, once you kind of get used to like what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just remove that one, and after the super on tap, or it doesn't really matter if you have it before or after, but usually in Flame you want to call the super methods first, because sometimes we do some magic for you, and that's handled in super.
Is then, this okay, or?
Yeah, that's fine, because that doesn't do anything at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
So here you can have like, now we can use the variable that we declared there, player. So we can have like player dot, I don't know what it does, fly maybe, player dot fly. And then yes, the empty parenthesis.
There's like a flip. Do you want to do flip?
No. So we haven't created this method yet. That's what we're going to create next.
I see. So we're doing fly and then equals type of thing?
No. Just we're creating the method on the player object after we have, yes. So we could have created that before we called it, but now it's going to say, oh, it's not here. But then your IDE is going to be able to say, oh, do you want to create this one? And then you can press create it.
This is kind of breaking my brain a little bit, since we're defining it after like this. So
yes, you have to have the parentheses there too.
Oh, okay.
And then semicolon. And then check if fly there says create method fly. And then if you go to player, it has created a
That's so crazy. Method. Okay. So
and
in Game Dart, so when we did the tap detector, what you added was the capability to then have an event essentially called untap.
Exactly.
So that's a method again. And what we're doing with that method is now using that on our instance player, because it's lazily loading player, and we're able to call a new method that we're creating in player.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this tap detector that we have there, it also, if you want to do some like more advanced things with the taps, it also has on tap down and on tap up and on tap cancel, and then you will also get positions and stuff of the tap.
Nice.
But right now we don't care. Like you can press anywhere on the screen and it will give the player a bounce up.
Cool.
So in this fly method, we want to make it like bounce up a little bit. So let's see. Then we have something called, actually first we can skip the fly method for a while, because we want the player to sync all the time, right? Because otherwise we'll always fly upwards.
Oh, okay.
So by doing that, we can override the update method. So above this one, you can do it under onload. And then if you just write void update here, I think it will fill out the rest for you. Oh, it didn't. Oh, and
there's double a did update. Is that?
No, yes, the update. Maybe you just write override before, and maybe there are too much update things in Flutter that it doesn't understand which one is use. And then void update. Oh, okay, we'll just write it ourselves then. And then in parentheses, and then double DT in here, in the parentheses. So that's the argument that this will get. And DT stands for delta time. Yeah, exactly, it was correct. Double and then DT.
Okay. We're taking in a double. Okay, I gotcha.
Exactly. And the delta time is the time from the when the last frame was shown, or when we last did an update.
Okay.
Because if we don't take DT into consideration, then if you would play this game on like 120 hertz screen instead of if you have 120 FPS instead of 60 FPS, then all of a sudden the game will run twice as fast as it would on the other screen. So you always have to take that into consideration.
Okay. See, game development's hard, folks. It's crazy. Okay.
So in most game engines, there is a basic called the update and render loop. And so this is what I meant with that it's the opposite of Flutter, because these ones run all the time. They try to run 60 times per second at least. So first it runs the update, and it updates the state of where everything is in the world, etc. And then it runs render, which renders out all of that. And then it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all the time.
Do we need a render method as well then?
No, because all that is handled by the sprite animation component here.
Okay.
But if you want to do some really crazy things, then you could override the render method and play around more there. But I don't think we will override the render method today.
Do we add like animation in here? What are we actually?
So what we're doing here, first we call super.update. So that's because otherwise our animation will just be stuck, because super.update is the one that handles the animation.
Okay.
And after that, we want it to fall a little bit all the time.
Okay.
And we have our position there. So we can write position.y, which is the y-axis. And then we want it to go downwards a little bit all the time. So you can do like minus here.
Is y a method, right?
No, it's just a double. Or actually, we can do the other. So if you set it to -12 here, then it will always be on -12.
Okay.
So we want it to change all the time in this update
like
method.
Math.random or something.
No, so usually you want it to have like a consistent rate down, and then we want it to have like a little of a curve up. So you can just do, and also one thing that can be confusing, but you should be very used to this since you're web developers, that 0, 0 is up in the corner, and then the y-axis is growing when you're going down. So in math, it's usually the other way around, right? The
Usually it's right in the middle, and you gotta.
Yeah, exactly. So here we actually want to increase the y to get the component to fall.
Okay.
So you can do plus equals to here.
Okay.
Like before, you can remove the first equals there. Yeah. And then we have to have a speed, and we can say that we want it to fall with like 200 pixels per second. And then you can just write 200 here. But if we just do this, then it will fall with 200 pixels every not right now it does it 60 times per second at least, so it will fall very quickly. So you have to times this 200 with dt. So dt is in seconds. So for example, if it is 60 fps, I think it is 0.12 seconds or something. So then it will just fall a little bit all the time.
Gotcha.
So now if you run this again, we might be able to see it falling if we're lucky.
We restart this. I swear there's a way to do like hot reload, right? Is that it?
Yeah, it's not always working when it isn't like pure Flutter. It works perfectly, but since our game widget
it fell off the screen, that's why.
Yeah, now we will never see it again.
Okay. So let me do this real quick once. Let's see. There he goes.
Nice.
Bye, Ember.
And now it will just keep falling.
Yeah, there's probably like a memory issue there, right?
Yeah, exactly. When it gets very, very large. Yeah, so now I think we are ready to start implementing the fly method here.
Awesome.
So that it can go up. And in Flame we have something called effects. So that if you don't use effects, then you will write things in update to move things around. But that can be quite tedious when you want it to like change don't want to have like a completely linear curve like now when we just go down with 200 pixels per second, because when we fly we don't want it to just bounce up, we want it to have a bit of a curve. because that looks nicer.
Yeah.
So you can start making a variable here called just final effect. And this one will be a move by effect. And the offset here, like most things in Flame, is a vector 2. And that should move 0. So now we want exactly, it should move 0 in the x-axis, which is the first one. And we can move up with like a -100. So that will move it up with 100 pixels. And then the controller here should be an effect controller. That is the most simple controller that we can use. And then you can write a duration here. And we want it to go up 100 pixels, say, it can take half a second, so 0.5. And then we can define a curve. Actually, we can run it like this first. Put a semicolon after that.
And I wish it was just on save, but like I'm so used to, I save it every time on Prettier, and it's just like, there you go. I'm gonna dig and see if someone will autocomplete that for me.
There is actually a setting for it in the plugin to do that. So right now it doesn't do anything because we haven't added the effect to the player. We have only defined it. So after this final effect, you can just do add effect, and that is just add and then the effect in there. Just like we add.
I always do that wrong. Yep, I got you.
Yeah, that's perfect. Just like we did in.
I'm always looking for add effect and then.
Oh yeah. So that is exactly how we did in the game when we added the player to there. So then if you try to click on the canvas now, then you can see that it goes up a bit.
Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird.
Then we want it to go up like in a nicer fashion and just linearly up. So then we can change the curve in the move effect or in the effect controller there. So after duration, you can write curve. And for a flap, then you can write curves with a big capital C, which is a nice little thing that is built into Flutter, which has a lot of different curves. And then you can write just dot after curves. So exactly. And then decelerate is quite nice for this, I think, because it's like the bird takes a flap and then it goes up quickly first and then a little bit slower.
Okay.
And if you put a comma after here, then it will.
I'm kind of curious, is decelerate? Okay, it's a function parabola. Nice. Okay.
And if you want to see how all of these curves work, they have a really nice documentation page on it on Flutter, which shows exactly because some of the curves can be a little bit hard to imagine how they would look like.
Yeah, I have a hard time with those all the time. Brittney's way better at this. When we were talking Bezier curves, like ease in, ease out. I'm like, oh, ease in and ease out breaks my head every time.
Yeah.
I'm always like, is it fast and then a slow and then fast? Like, what's that look like? When I'm like, it like that motion I get linearly, but you can do so many weird things with ease in and ease out. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, that is exactly these ones. So if you look here in the curves, they actually have ease in and ease out too. Cool. So yeah, now you can run it again and we can see if maybe it won't actually be visible that it looks different on the stream, but yeah, I think, and then you can click even faster to get it
it's really hard to click now. Cool.
Yeah, perfect. So I guess we can be done with the player for a while.
Okay.
So now, or actually, we can add so that we get a game over when the player hits the screen.
I was gonna ask you if we have to set a actual ground below it for it to crash into.
Yeah, so we can if you go into the game again.
Okay.
And just like with the tap detector up there, then you can do a comma after that and say has collision detection.
Nice.
And then in the player, so now here you don't have to override anything actually.
Okay. I thought we would have to specify the floor or something.
No, so that's what we're gonna do in. You can go back to game. We actually have to specify the floor, but the floor is gonna be the box of your window.
Okay.
So beneath player there on line 14.
Okay.
On add player there, then you just do add, and then screen hitbox, and it will in parentheses, yeah, and that should just like that, and then you have defined a box which is like the same size as your window. So when we hit that one, we can.
Do we do vector 2 like 100 by 100 or?
No, so this one does everything automatically. It always is the same size as your screen or your window in this case. So if we go to player now.
Player, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. The player variable, the player instantiation, or the player class. Yeah, and up here, then we can do on load here, and we can do add. And since this one is like it's quite round, this one, so we can add a hitbox which is round, and a hitbox is something that can collide with things. So right now it can't collide with things because it doesn't have any like boundaries. But if we do, if you make a new line there and then you just do add
here,
yeah, okay, that's fine. You can do it anywhere in the onload really, and then add a circle hitbox. And if we don't define anything in here, then it will just try to fill the component as much as possible, and it knows that the size is 100, so we can do it like that now. And we can use another feature now, which is quite good when you're defining hitboxes and stuff, and that is called debug mode. So if you make a new line here and just write debug mode equals to true, and then run it again. Okay. And then we should, you see, it's very hard to see the colors there, I guess. But,
okay.
So it has, we can make it a little bit bigger so that people can see.
Can I zoom a window? How do you, maybe? No, that just gets the window bigger.
But we can just manually make the ember bigger. Up there on the size, just write like 400 on the size instead.
Oh, help me. We're
on the line 8.
Line 8. Okay. So both. So that's the size. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
400.
And then you can, if you go down to the update method, you can turn off this. Just comment out that line so that it doesn't fall out. Then it should be easier to see.
It's XY 500 and we started at 100 for the position.
And here you can, it's quite hard to see it on the screen here, but do you see that there is a circle going there in the middle?
Yeah. And you guys are really small. I didn't even look over there. Okay.
If you want to make that thicker, then you can set debug paint and to have a bigger, like, you can just do it. Debug paint, and then dot stroke width, I think it is. And then set that to like 5, maybe. Maybe this will be really big. I think that might be fine. And then reload.
It's a little thicker.
Oh, right. And this one only set debug paint for that one. So you can actually move this line. Or you can have you can keep the debug mode there.
Okay.
But we set the debug mode now to just be 5 on the component. But what we wanted to see is actually the hitbox. So you can see that it's a very thin circle in there.
Okay.
So if you do...
do you have to go back in the game for that?
No, you can go to where we were and scroll up a bit, where we added the hitbox there. So in the hitbox, we can do, if you define line 13 and 14 above circle hitbox there.
Okay.
And then you can do dot after circle hitbox parentheses there. inside the add. So what dot does is that it returns the same thing that it called on.
Whoa,
so we want
that's new for me.
Yeah, it's a quite nice notation, because then you can do like what is it called? You can have like several calls on the same method, but without writing it. Yeah, exactly.
Chaining, okay.
So you can write debug paint here, and then we can set it to the debug paint that we have already made bigger here. So you can you don't have to even do that. You can do that if you want to. You can, but do debug paint here. Just have debug paint. Actually, set the stroke width there. That will be fine too.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And then equals to 5. You could have also set it to the debug paint that we had in this.
What would you say, like this dot or like parent?
So then you would do dot debug paint equals to this debug paint, yeah. Or not even.
I'll do it that way. I'm kind of curious.
You don't even have to write this actually, because we only have one debug paint defined here. Okay, yeah, right.
I was thinking we're good.
It would have worked, but I realized that we have made it final because we don't want people to create a lot of new paint objects because they're quite expensive. So now we're modifying the object instead.
Cool.
Okay, so now people can at least see that here we have a circular hitbox around it.
I always forget on Mac you can zoom in on the screen, and I can't remember what the key is right now.
Yeah, we can use that the next time if we come up with it. So if you want to have a more advanced hitbox that is like covering the edges better, then you can use a polygon hitbox, or there are also rectangle hitboxes. Or if you have like say you have a character that has a head and a body, then maybe you want to have a circle hitbox for the head, and then a rectangle for the body, and then something else for the arms. So you can add several hitboxes to it. But right now we're fine with the circle hitbox, I think.
Okay.
And now we have to say what should happen when this one collides into something. So then we can go up to there where you have extends there on line 7, I think it is. Just scroll up a little bit. And here we're going to add another mix in. So just write with there. And then we need collision callbacks, I think it's called. And from that one, we want to override on collision start. So that is when, that's when the collision starts. Well, it's odd that it didn't want to autocomplete those ones, but it's on collision start at least. And then it takes 2 parameters, but we're not going to use the parameters. So you can just do an underscore for the first one, and then a comma, and do a double underscore for the second one. That just means we're not using them. And then we have to call super on this one too.
I was wondering if it would. I mean, no.
Yeah, it says that.
Yeah, it's so
that
weird.
You can ignore it, but it refuses to add it for you. That's annoying. So super dot, yeah.
Collision.
Yeah.
There.
And then underscore and underscore underscore on the other there. So what it does is other is what you have collided with, and the first one is where it happened. But right now we just want to die if we collide with anything, so we don't care about that.
Okay.
So now we want to lose if we collide with something. So we can add a game over method to the game. If we go back there and just do a void game over. And in this one right now we can just pause the game if we die, and we can do more things in here, and that just pause engine, the third one there. Exactly. And then we can go to the player there, and then we need to call that one. But right now we don't have access to the game, so then we're going to add another mix in, which is called with has game, so that it gives it a reference to the game. So it's just called has game ref, it's called. And that is a generics. So since if you only want the game, then you can write it like this, but then it will think of it as a pure Flame game. And we want to use our Ember game here. So just add those angle brackets and write what was it called? Flappy Ember, I think we called the game. Exactly. And then down in the...
How does it know where this type is? Because isn't that out wherever?
So that is the type of this one. Yeah.
How does it know to... Did we import that somewhere? Yes. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So confused. All right.
Exactly. And then on collision start here, then after the super call, you can do game ref. Exactly. So that one is now like filled in. Now you will have your game in there, and then just call game over. And semicolon. And then you can uncomment the line on 41 there.
Oops.
And we can make it a little bit smaller again. Yeah. So now you see that it was paused when we hit the bottom. Whoa. And then it crashes. Boom.
I would say we need to increase our fall speed. This is on like easy, right?
But right now we don't have any obstacles that we need to avoid. So now it's quite easy to fly in like the completely empty space. But later when there comes things flying at you, then it gets harder.
So just a quick time check. I know Brittney and I usually set aside like 90 minutes to get through something. I'm more than happy to keep going, Britt. I don't know if you have to like run out or anything or work on something else.
I've been working on other things. I mean, I can just stand here. It's fine.
Okay. I know this isn't like
I'm not contributing at all. But...
Cool. Okay. Yeah, let's keep rocking this. I love it. This is teaching me so much. Like, it's not specifically teaching me Flutter, but it's getting me into like object-oriented land again. So I really like this. I think it's going to help for my AppWrite Flutter stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Like, so far we have the only thing we have written that is Flutter is run app in the main file actually, and then the rest is Flame.
Literally, that's the only thing Flutter.
Yeah, on line 8 there. The main file is actually just Dart.
Yeah, this is just a method, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Very nice.
That's interesting. All right.
So what should we add next? We can add a background, maybe. Add some nice background effects.
I assume that goes inside the game, not the player.
We can do a new. Let's see.
Oh, a new file or something?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we can do a simple one for this so that it doesn't take so long. But in Flame we have something called a parallax component. If people don't know what parallaxes are, it's like imagine looking out of a train window. And the things that are very close to you, they move by very quickly. But
if you're in the US, think you're in a car, okay?
Right, and there are no trains there. Yeah, and the things very far away, they move very slowly. So it gives you a sense of depth, even though it's a 2D game, which can be quite nice to use. But we're gonna start with just adding a background that is static now, because then we haven't actually added anything static yet.
Okay.
So it's nice for people to see that. So we can create a new class that we call Sky, for example.
Do we just want that class inside of game, or?
No, you can create a new file.
Okay.
It'd be nicer to keep track of everything.
Sorry, Sky?
Yeah, sky.dart or background or something. And this will be just class Sky, and that will extend sprite components. So if you remember when we did the player, we extended the sprite animation component. This one isn't going to move around. So
okay.
And we can start with overriding the constructor here. So an empty constructor. And then call super after that. So no, yeah, exactly. Yes, empty parentheses. After colon instead of the semicolon there. Colon after the parentheses. So that's just like separating the super from the sky. And then in here, we want to set something that we call priority. And for you web devs, then that is probably what you mostly know as Z index.
Okay.
C index, what do you say in the US?
Z, yeah.
Z index,
Z.
okay.
Yeah, Z,
So
Z. Yeah.
we want this to be in like the farmost background. And the
Okay.
default priority is 0. So if we set this to -1, then we don't have to care about the priorities of the other things.
Okay.
And then just a semicolon after that. So otherwise, if we don't add that, everything will be added in the order as they come into Flame.
Okay.
Or as we call add on them. So if we accidentally call add sky after the player, then we won't see the player because the whole the whole image, the whole screen is going to be covered by our background.
So this is almost like absolute positioning for web people, and then you're taking, and the Z index is now layering on top.
Exactly. Cool. So now we want to override onload again. That one it could autocomplete for you, I think. So inside of the class.
Oh, right. Yeah, my bad.
It's interesting that it's like nicely overrides this one, but some of the other ones it doesn't want to autocomplete for you. And in here we want to so on this other one we had the sprite animation component, right? And then we wanted to set animation. In this one we want to set the sprite. So first we want to get the image for the sprite, and that's just final image. We can just create a variable for it there, and then equals to await. And then
we need to put async if we're using the await.
Exactly. You remember, you learn quickly.
Is this colon async?
No colon, just colon. Async.
Yeah, I almost remember.
Yeah, you did. And await, and then flame dot images. So this is our global cache to keep images in if they're needed. So you might have to import Flame there. So once you have written Flame, it should, when you hold over it, it will probably tell you to import
Flame.
It's if you go down a little bit there, and there, and then just write Flame there. I think after the parentheses. After the slash.
Oh, gotcha. Another Flame.
I think so. .dart.
Oh, yep, my bad.
And now let's see. Flame. Yeah, there it is.
Dot images. Cool.
And in here we can use, if we go to Parallax there, we can .load first. And then if we go to the Parallax directory inside of assets, 4 up.
Thank you.
And then you can BG sky is pretty good since we wanted some sky background.
Looks pretty.
Now we can just take that one.
Oops.
And just as a string here. Perfect. And then semicolon there. And then we want to create a sprite out of this image. And then you can do a new line, and then just sprite equals to. So with the not capitalized equals to, and here, capitalized, and then, exactly, it fills it out good for you. Exactly.
Semicolons are going to kill me today.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They will. That was exactly my feeling when I started with Dart. Then I just got used to it. But yeah, like I said, too used to it. So I write it in languages where I shouldn't write it now. And this one, we want it to fill your whole window, no matter of how big it is. So, and this image, it stretches pretty well, so we don't have to care about the aspect ratios and stuff. But if you would be using a parallax component, then that would fix all the aspect ratios, and if you want to have multiply them after each other and all those kind of things. But now we're just doing a little dumber components for the background. So after the onload here, so now we haven't added the sky to the game yet, so that's why it's not showing. But we can fix one more thing before. So you can override on game resize after this one. And here you can you can keep the super call there. That's also odd. Like now it added a super call for you.
I feel like when we're correctly like have everything imported and extended, if I just type the method, like no void or anything, I think it's doing better like that. So
that makes sense, I guess.
We'll see.
So after the super call here, underneath the other one.
Oh.
Here you can do size equals to you can rename the variable on line 16 there, or you can do this size equals to size. You can do that too in on line 19.
Okay.
So that means that equals to size. So that means that on game resize is called every time you get a new size of the window. So it's called once in the beginning when the game starts up, and then if you would like change the size of your window, it will be called again with a new size, so that it makes sure that this image will stay the correct size all the time.
That's really cool.
So now if we go back to the game, and then we can add, like after the player there, we can add a new instance of sky. So add the sky. We don't have to have any variable for it, because we don't really care what happens in the sky one. If we would want to call it from the game, then it would be nice to have a variable for it. But now we don't. So
that makes sense.
Now, hopefully, we get some sky.
Just kind of reiterating what we did. We created a new class called sky, which extends a sprite component, and then we've set it up for like resize capability, and then we added that sky to our game.
Exactly.
An instance of it.
Exactly. Where we have also added a player and screen hitbox. So now,
able to load asset.
Okay, so. Right, this is actually good that this happens to us, because then the others will see this, watching it, because people usually have a lot of problems with assets. Because usually it looks directly in the assets folder when it looks for assets. But right now we're in the parallax folder in the assets folder, so we have to write parallax first and no slash in the beginning.
Oh, slash. Oh my god.
So yes, because it orally looks in.
Oh, right.
Like it just concatenates this on the other path it has. So it worked with our Ember one, because is in the root.
Would this work as well, like this?
I'm not sure. You can try if you want.
Why not? Why not try
it? Yeah, seems like it does.
Cool.
So now we have some background. And we can show another thing when we're talking about assets. Nice. Flying the pretty sky. So if we go down to the Pubspec file, I'm going to show you one thing there. It's almost in the bottom there. Yeah, that one. So here you see we have assets in the bottom. So another thing that people tend to forget is adding the assets directories here, because then Flutter won't be able to find them.
That's cool.
So if we wouldn't have added the parallax directory here, for example, it would have thrown the same error as it did now when we wrote the wrong path for it.
Cool.
Right. Should we add some obstacles maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Are these new classes we're making?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. And we can name it box maybe. Yeah, or obstacle.
I like box. Box is simpler type.
Yeah, it saves your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
And this one will also be a sprite component, so we can just extend sprite component here. Sprite component.
Oh, my bad.
So the sprite is the underlying foundation of sprite components, but that one can't be added directly to a game. Okay. All components can be added to games, and components can also be added to other components. So if you have a player, for example, and you wanted to have a sword or something, then maybe you want to add a sword component to your player component, and then that sword will follow that player around where you have positioned it.
Gotcha. Okay. So just kind of like the same there. Cool. So box
yeah.
super.
So the box here, we can take in a position for it, because this one we want to, because these ones are going to move around on the screen.
Okay.
So we want to have a position for it. And in or in Dart, rather, in the last update, they had a really nice thing so that you can skip this colon super thing afterwards if you just want to pass on things that to the super constructor.
Okay.
This is also a named argument, and so you need inside the box there, you need the squiggly brackets.
Okay. This squiggly or
yeah, exactly those
okay.
ones. Or what do you call them?
You said it right. I did it wrong.
Okay.
I'm bad at listening.
In Swedish, we call them måsvingar, which means like bird wings. Super confusing.
It's so funny, like the different names like that. In French, it was something totally weird. I was like, "What?" we should ask Tim on that one.
They just make things up to remember it, and then you can just write super.position here. And that will, when we give this one a position from somewhere else, where we initialize it, that one will just pass it on to the super one automatically.
So just if I just want to like real quick, if you're not used to making classes, what's happening here is that when box extends sprite component, if I'll scroll over this, hopefully. This has like a positional component to it, and when you create an instance, so I always describe it as the class box is like a cookie cutter, and then we're making cookies. Every cookie is going to be the same shape now, like as we're creating it, but you need to be able to pass things to that like cookie cutter. So like if you had to like drop M&Ms in or something like that, you need to pass up the position to the original thing.
Yeah,
it's a really bad, like convoluted description, but it helps kids a little bit.
Yeah, if you take, I don't know if you're on Mac or Windows, but if you have a control or
I'm on Mac.
super, you just use, what is the super button called? Yeah, press command and press sprite component, and then you will be able to see what's in there actually. And here you can see that this is something called a position component, and this one does all kinds of magical things in here. So
Did you want to look at position? Sorry.
No, I just wanted to show that there's a lot happening underneath the hood, which you don't have to care about when you extend it, because it will be of that type and it will do everything that it says, but you don't have to do it yourself. You just pass on some values and it handles the rest for you.
Yeah, so the cool thing, like when we did box here, when we pass superposition, it's going to pass it up to sprite, and that also has a superposition.
Yeah, and that passes it to position component.
Yeah, that's going to pass here, and eventually you'll start to use position somewhere.
Yeah, in here it is actually used, so it doesn't go that far.
Yeah, it's not too deep, but that's the frustrating part sometimes when you're using classes for people that are used to functional programming. Like, there's a lot of layers.
Indeed, you don't go directly to the source.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And we want to give this one a size too, and so then you can, instead of the semicolon there, you can add a colon, and then add the super and parentheses and size. And we can set the size to maybe 150, and that is also a vector too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, vector 2. I think there might be something called vector, and sometimes people write.
I guess since it's the same, we could use that thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And then semicolon after there. And then we can override onload here too. And then just like in the sky, we want to set the background, or the like sprite that we're going to use in this one.
Can we cheat then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Cheat away.
Sky.
Yeah, exactly. So you can copy what's in there. And then instead of Parallax BG Sky there,
I think we have to import Flame as well.
yes.
Right? Okay, and then async.
Yeah, getting a hang of this now.
Getting there, getting there. We're gonna have to make this into a course.
Yeah,
this is great.
And then if you look in the assets, then we should have in the directories, we should have one called boxes there, and then you can choose box 1 or 2 there, which one we want to use.
This. Okay, cool.
And then you can
instead of Parallax, we're in box now. Ooh, not
exactly.
box. Box. If you're watching The Boys, Vox. Is it Vox, Britt? In The Boys? Is that the bad? Something like that. Vox is bad.
Bond. Bond? Is it Bond?
I was thinking the company that makes the drug is called Bond.
Isn't it Bond?
I don't know. Anyway, I'm
it's
getting
something
way up. So one
bot. You're right. Bot. We were both wrong. We had like we were like combining two different words.
It was something in between.
Again, MA show. Don't watch, kids.
And then here is the same. Sprite equals to. Yeah, exactly. Capital. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, jeez, come on.
Perfect.
It's bad because it auto completes the parenthesis, and then I have the arrow, and then it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyways,
should also move the arrow there.
So we have a box. We need to add it somewhere.
Exactly. So now we want to. We can just add it first to the game just to see that the component works. Cool. But later we want these boxes to move around.
Import. Where did we do sky import? Here. Oh, not boxes, just say
it's correct. And now we have to give the box position.
What are we thinking? Like 200 and
just put it anywhere what is within the window. So 200 is fine. But right now we don't take in any position here. We do. Yeah, that's true. So then you just, since it's a named argument, then you just write position first where you call it.
Got it.
And then it's a vector 2 here too.
Always a vector 2. I keep forgetting.
Everything is vector 2.
If I could type vector 2, it would be great. Okay.
And then just place it wherever you want. Yeah, and then we can see if we get some boxes on the screen.
Oop, what did I mess up? Boxes, not box.
Yeah,
so we're gonna hit that real quick.
Yeah, starting inside of it. Nice. We can actually do that directly. We can add a hitbox to that one. So on the box there, you can just do or in onload, I mean, in the box, we can do add rectangle hitbox because this one is very rectangular. Yeah, there it is. And then since this one, we want this one, you don't have to have any vector or anything here because we want this one to fill the whole component. So
I see. Okay.
Just having it like that. And then if you restart it now, it instantly dies.
Bang.
I
might move that a little bit, I think. Is that good?
We're gonna, you can move it just so we see that it can crash into it. But later we're gonna have like a little thing moving it.
So I probably don't want this anymore because we need to do probably like, I don't know, something like that. And is that further down and right? Maybe?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and how are we looking time-wise? Like how long do you want to?
I'm happy to do this all day because I feel like at this point, Lucas, I'm going to turn this whole video into a course if that's okay with you.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
we're just going to put it on Coding Cat, and I'll break up each section as we go along. This is incredible.
Then you can skip a little bit of the beginning too.
Yeah,
with all the problems.
We'll chop the front off and make this a little better.
Awesome.
So thanks for training, the community.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it. Yeah. Right. Then we can. This will probably be the hardest component that we do, but since we want to have several of these boxes stacked on top of each other.
Okay.
So we want to make a new component called maybe like box stack, for example.
Oh, okay. I think instead of a lot of the setup, I'm going to copy and paste this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Stack. Maybe
and
box stack.
Exactly. And this one is going to be a position component, which is what we saw actually before when we digged very deep into those extends there. And the position components is basically just an empty shell for positioning something on the screen.
Okay.
And so what this one is going to contain is like several boxes with random heights. And so if I don't know if you have played Flappy Birds lately.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, same here. I had to look up how it actually looked when I did this. So it comes in like boxes or pillars or whatever from the bottom and from the top, and you want to like get your bird in between those ones. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This one is going to make a stack of boxes, and it's going to place it either in the top or in the bottom, and it's going to have a random amount of boxes in there.
Okay, cool. Love it.
So first we can add instead of superposition here, we can have required.
Is it in the curly braces?
Yeah, so we can have it a named parameter, so it becomes a little bit clearer, because when it's a boolean and you just send in a boolean, it can be quite hard to know what it's used for, and it's nice to have it named. And
that's how I like doing my functions as well, because if you ever extend them like positionally, people are like, you move something.
Yeah, indeed. And we can say yes, this and dot is bottom. So we don't have this variable yet, but we will create it.
Do we want camel case type of?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then you can remove the whole super thing after there. And a semicolon. And then we want to have a variable so this is a little bit like the super dot is bottom, or super dot position that we did earlier. But with this instead of having to do the like assignment of it manually later in the constructor, this automatically does it. But we have to define it here. So you can do final bool is bottom. Perfect. And here we need to have something. We need to have some randomness in this one. So we can add the random class from Flutter, and we can just.
Do we have to extend to get that or anything, or
no? So we can have this as a static variable actually, because it will just generate random numbers. So yes, static final random. And they equals to random with capital R.
Oh, just random. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that bring back? Like a double?
It can bring back different things. So that's an object that you can call with like next double or next. I think it's just next, and it gives you back double, or you can have next bool or next int. Or
okay, cool.
Whatever you want.
So it's
so you can't see it in there, but you will see it very soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. And now you can like empty up the onload method here.
Okay.
And so as I said earlier, we can add components to other components, and then they will be positioned together with that one. So we want to position this component and then put all of the boxes in there, so they don't have to care about where the actual stack is positioned. So we can start with saying just position dot x, so that's the x value, is equals to oh yeah, and now we also need a reference to the game. So then we go up there and add has game ref in there.
Oops.
So with has game ref and then
I always forget the width.
And then generics with the Flappy Ember. In the online editor.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, actually, we probably don't need that, but we can put it in there anyways, because the size already exists on the pure Flame game.
Okay.
But we might need something special that we have in Flappy Ember later. So
sounds good.
Who knows? Better to have it there. So then equals to gameref.size.x. And what this means is that we will position, so the x is in the horizontal plane, right? And this means that we will position the x value of the stack at the same size as the screen is. And the position, like the component has an anchor, and the anchor is in the top left by default. So when we position it at the same as the size, it will be right outside of the screen.
Okay. Yep.
Which can be a little bit complicated.
So if our screen size is 300, it'll be right after 300. If
exactly.
It's 500, it'll be right after. Okay.
Exactly. So if it has a size of 100, then it will go from x will go from 300 to 400. Like the leftmost part will be 300, and the rightmost part of the box will be 400.
Okay.
And then we want to have. We're going to use the height of the game later to see how many boxes we can stack on top of each other, so that we don't just have a pile of boxes coming in that is a wall that's impossible to hide from.
Okay.
So we can make a variable here called the final game height. And that one is just gameref.size.y instead. Since that is in the other direction. And from this, we want to calculate how high can these stacks be. So we can do a variable called max stack height. So we don't want them to be all the same height all the time, because then the game will be too static and will be too easy to play. So here you can do within parentheses. Oh, actually, we don't know. If we go back to the box, we don't have the size of the box set here. So we can break that out into a variable. So if you copy the size there.
Sorry, where am I?
Yeah, if you copy from line 7 there, okay. The vector, just the vector 2.
Gotcha.
And you make a static variable that you can call it initial size, for example. So just like static initial size equals to that. And I think you have to give it a variable or the type too, maybe when it's static.
Oh, yes, I'm so used to JavaScript.
Yeah.
You don't need such things.
No, you usually don't.
What is
here either, but I think it doesn't infer it in when it's static.
Do you go like this then?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Cool. So now you can go back there, and then we can do max stack height is equals to within parentheses game height and divided by. So within the parentheses.
I'm like, what are we doing with parentheses? Doing some math.
Yeah.
I am going to run. There are people outside to put something on the pool. So I will catch y'all later. Thank you, Lucas.
Thanks
it was
for
nice
hanging
to see
in
you
there.
again.
Have a good one,
hanging out.
See ya.
See ya. So you can move the division to within the parentheses.
Okay.
And divide it by box.initialSize.y. So since this is a static variable, you have to have a big B.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's a good call out for people. What static variables are when the class is created, not the instance.
Initialized, yeah.
Initialized, thank you. When the class is initialized, this variable will be there at that point. Unlike an instance variable, when we have to create the instance before we can use that. And then each instance, so this is where the the M&M analogy continues. So each instance could have red M&Ms, yellow M&Ms. That's at the instance of the cookie. But again, I have a bad example for this. I usually do a car example once we get there. Every cookie, though, would have chocolate chips. That's our static variable when we create it. So
exactly. And if you would change the static variable, it would change in all cookies at once.
Exactly. You got it.
So box.initialSize.y. And then the parentheses here, we can use it to round it down. So after the parentheses, we can just write .floor to get this as an int, because we don't want half boxes in our stacks. And we want them a little bit less high than half of the size. So we can do -2 here. That's pretty good. What's the complaining about there?
Type
does it have box imported? Maybe not.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good call. We have game. We have no box. Really need to start using the option key more. I keep forgetting to. You can go further.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I use the Vim bindings, and you can just go with all the
keys.
You
Vim power users, just you blow my mind. Like I should have been doing that for years, but I haven't.
Yeah, it is quite a steep learning curve, but once you're in there, it's impossible to.
Yeah, and you can log into any box and do anything like a wizard.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. So now we can set what stack height like this stack should actually have. So we can do a final stack height here. And then we can do random dot next int.
Sorry, we're probably doing random.
No. We're using the variable that you created on line 13 there. So that's good. And next int, yeah. And the max will be the max stack height there.
Cool.
And right. And then we can do this. Yeah, as I said, this is the one of the more complicated components we will do, because if we go back and look at the image,
this one,
when we place this on top of each other, we don't want them to be right on top of each other, because this one actually has like 3D. A plane above it. Yeah. So we want to like place it a little bit further down, the box that is going to be on top of there. So we want to remove half of that box, or a third of that box's height to get it down a little bit. So we can do that with we can do a variable that we call like box spacing, maybe. And that will be the box height times dude, like how much was it there? Maybe 2 box height times 2 divided by 3, maybe. So you have the let's see, where do we have the box height? We didn't make a variable for the box height. We can make a variable for the box height because we will need that later.
Okay. So we're getting that. Do we need a return out of here?
No, so we can get that from the size, from the initial size there. So underneath the game height there on line 20, we can create a final box height, and that one can be box.initialSize.y. With so that one is and then we can actually replace that on line 22 there. We are also writing box.initialSize.y, so we can just replace it with box height in the second part of the division there.
There we go.
Also, and then we can use box height there, and then multiply it with within parentheses 2 divided by 3. I think it will be the correct placing of it. Let's see. So now we want to see whether it should start in the top or in the bottom. So we want to know what the initial y value should be. So we can do final initial y.
Like that, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then equals to is bottom. So now we can do one of these like quick if else ones. So is bottom is the boolean that we got in as the argument here in on line 15 here. And that's whether a boolean whether it should be on top or bottom. And you can do exactly question mark. And then we can do game height minus box height. So if it's in the bottom, we want to place it right above the it wants how do I explain that easily? it like right within the screen is where the first box is gonna be, and the other one is gonna be from the top, just so it will be visible. So that we can do. This is
just box height from the top, right? So if
actually it should probably be 0, but I have written. Oh no, right, because we don't want that top thing to be shown in the top box, because then it looks weird when that is
so you
flying down. So
cut
we
it
want to
off.
have it a little bit further up. Yeah, so
Okay.
minus box height divided by 3.
So that gives you a third or whatever third of the box. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So yes,
We
it
should
hides
probably
that.
just mention final. Like final just means we'll never change this value once it's set, correct? Or is it a
Exactly.
memory thing? That's all.
No, that is exactly what it means. And
so this is equivalent to const in JavaScript.
Not
No.
exactly.
No. Okay. I saw you like no.
But quite close. So we actually have const here too.
Oh.
So a const is a constant. There, nothing can be changed within the object.
Okay.
So for example, if we had 100 here, then you could write if this is the number of boxes we have, then we could write const number of boxes equals to 100.
Gotcha.
But when we write final, then you can not change the reference to it. So you can't now we can't set initial y to something else. But if we would have a vector2 there, for example, you can't change what vector2 it is, but you can change the content of it. So you can like change the x and stuff.
So I think that's similar to constant JavaScript, because I can set a object and I can change like stuff within the object as long as that doesn't point to else.
Okay, interesting.
If I use let, I can then change the object reference itself.
Yeah.
Reassign it.
Yeah, it was a very long time since I did JavaScript, so
no,
you're probably correct.
Totally okay.
And then so the const ones in Dart, they actually have to be able to be evaluated in compile time.
Wow.
In while.
Yep. That makes sense.
That can do. Then they can do a lot of more efficient things when compiling.
Cool.
And with garbage collecting and such. So now we're gonna create some of these boxes so that they're right now we're only like have made a lot of variables for how to place them.
we have the areas where all these boxes will end up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now we can make a variable called like final boxes. And did you get a little owl or something up there?
Oh, what did I miss?
I don't know. It was there it is.
Box decoration.
Aha, that's funny that they have images in there. I didn't know that. That's cool.
VS Code has come a long ways to support this stuff. It's so fun.
Really cool. And this one we can use list, so equals to boxes, and a list dot generate with a capital L. Yeah. So this one you could do with a for loop or something else if you're not used to these kind of generate methods, but these ones take a little bit less space. So here is how many of the boxes we're going to create. And we know that because we have created a stack height. So we can write stack height here. That's how many boxes we're going to have in this particular stack. And then we can remove the lambda thing there and create a method body, because this is going to cover a few lines. So yes, the squiggly brackets instead of that.
Okay. this.
Yeah, exactly.
So that way we need a return coming back out. It's amazing how similar Dart is to a lot of JavaScript-ish.
Yeah, indeed. I think like so many languages have like converged to be very similar.
That's cool.
So in here we can just do return box.
So we're doing something else. So return box instance.
Yeah, exactly. And here we had a position in the box there. So, so as a named argument inside of the box creation here. So yes, position there. And this is going to be looking hard, but it is not that hard when you explain it. So vector 2. And we want it to be at y, the x will be 0. So yes, write 0 there, and then comma. And so 0 is because the box stack is actually going to place it where it's going to be on the x-axis. But this one needs to set it on the y-axis.
Okay.
So then we set the initial y that we have there. And then plus index. So index is the current item that it's on when we're generating these boxes. So first we'll go for 0 and then 1, 2. Yeah.
This.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So this one will run for as many times as we have in stack height. Okay. So plus index and then times box spacing. So that is how far away each box should be from each other. That's why it says 2 divided by 3 on the line 25 there. Because
okay.
We want a third of it not to be seen, but then we want to place it like 2/3 above the other box or under the other box, depending on if it's coming from the top or bottom. And then it's not done yet. So times after the box spacing there. And now we need to know whether it should be on the bottom or the top. So now we can do within parentheses.
Oh, okay.
And do is bottom. And then question mark -1. And then colon 1. Exactly. And now it is complaining.
My God, I just noticed it. It's automatically putting like list generate. Yeah. That is so helpful.
Oh yeah, where it ends. Yeah,
that's
very nice.
Love it. Okay.
Okay, what is it complaining at? If you check what it is saying there. Too many positional arguments. Expected 0, but 2 was found. Box. What? It was complaining at the vector, right?
It's not named. No, it is named. It's named position.
Can we read what's that again? Blah, blah, blah. 0 expected, but 1 found.
Do we not specify the name? Is it not a name?
Oh, no, now I know what it is. So if you go back and remove the squiggly brackets there.
Okay.
So that is only needed when you define it, not when you make a new instance of it. Right. You can put like after, you can put a comma there if you want to before the last parenthesis, and it will format it a little bit nicer. Before the last parenthesis, I mean, and then semicolon after. Yeah. And it just brings it in a little bit to the left. All right, and then we want to add all these boxes to to this component. So just do add all and then box. So now we can make a box stack. So we can just try to add one of those to the game and see that it works.
And then remove probably the original.
Exactly.
Box. So instead of bringing box, we're going to bring in box stack.
Yes.
You add box stack.
And then you can just take true or false there. And we can see where it ends up.
How does it move into screen?
Exactly. So right now it is right outside the screen.
So it's over here.
Because now we're not...
no matter if I try... Oh, there it is. It didn't reposition. Okay.
Nope, so that one doesn't reposition because that would make it possible to cheat if they're moving when you're doing the screen bigger.
Okay.
So then we want to move these boxes too. So then we can have, let's see.
So actually, how many times can we add like the boxes? I assume like we want box stack multiple times created.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So
probably as we're moving though. I don't know.
Yeah, we can start moving it and then we can add multiple box stacks. Cool. So if we go back to the box stack one.
Okay. Hey, give me just one minute.
Yep.
I got to check in and make sure I'm not missing everything at work here. And I promise we're going to talk about AppWrite at some point to see if we could use it for a backend for this.
Yeah, probably. And we can.
Okay. All right. Sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, so now we're going to do the same thing as we did on the player. We're going to override the update method.
Okay. Update.
Yeah, I can do it in the bottom. Usually, like, it feels like it makes sense having the loading in the top and then
on update.
No, yes, update.
Okay, maybe. That?
Yep, exactly. Okay. And then we can do if or we can start with moving it actually. So position .x, because we only want to move the stack in the x direction because it's already set up like the y direction.
Okay.
And right, we don't have a speed of the game yet, so we can go to the game and create a variable called speed, and then we with that variable later we can make the game harder and harder by just increasing the speed. And this one you don't have to have it as final because this one we want to change later. So this one you can just have it as a like double speed. How much should the speed be for it to make sense? Maybe 400 is maybe, or 50 is good, it will be very slow. 500 is good. And then we have to add this game ref to the box stack. So the one, we already have it, perfect. And that's why we wanted to have the Flappy Ember there that we didn't know before because we wanted this specific variable. So then you can do position dot x and then minus equals to
equals to, so
yeah, so it just removes the instead. Minus so for the ones that don't know, minus equals to is the same thing as writing position.x is equals to position.x minus the
this is the same as this minus
exactly
2.
Exactly, it's just shorter to write. So here we can do game minus game ref dot speed times so not the 2, that I think that was just me saying 2.
Okay.
The English 2.
Gotcha.
And then we also have to multiply the speed with dt here. So the dt was the delta time to repeat, so the time from the last time we did updates.
Okay.
So now if we run this, it should be moving to the left. And
do we have to update the?
Not because. So we have the speed there, and we're missing something. If we go position x
minus game speed, maybe it needs to do it. I don't know. Okay,
it should be fine anyways, but you can do that. What? We probably missed something here.
So if we look, there's probably a box.
So now the engine is paused too. So if you restart
right. We need a game.
There it is.
That's why.
Okay.
And we crashed already. Great.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can avoid it. What happens?
Nice.
I think we won. We got to the end.
Yeah, we made it. We passed the box.
Awesome.
And then we also, to not have like a memory leak here, we want to remove these boxes once they have gone out of of the screen. So here we can add the if before the position there, and then just do if position.x is less than box minus. So now we're going to use this static variable that we have. So minus box dot initial size dot x. So that means, since we still have the anchor as in the top left corner, it means that once it has moved all the way past the screen, then it will disappear. So then you can.
So the memory leak Lucas was talking about, if we just left boxes out there, they would go infinity off to the left, and our program would just.
Yeah, we'll just get more and more boxes, and it might be fine if you're running it on like a desktop or a high-end smartphone. But if you're running it on some exactly, it will inevitably crash at some point, since it's just growing infinitely. So. So here we want to do remove from parent, and then that means that it just it detaches itself from the game.
Is it this or?
No, just remove from parent.
Remove from. Oh wow. Okay.
And semicolon.
Where is this coming from? Is this a?
So that's coming. No, that's coming from Flame. So that's coming from the most basic structure in Flame that is called the component. So the components can have children and they can have parents, or one parent and many children. And you can remove itself from the parent, or you can remove children of yourself. So if you want to remove a child that you're having, then you can just do remove and then parentheses and what child that you want to remove. So, awesome. But now we're doing the other way around.
So very similar to a DOM structure in the browser. Can do the same thing. Cool.
Indeed. So now, I guess now we won't see any difference. We will just know that it's better.
We're just safe now.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. And where is it though? I wonder if I think it probably disappeared before we saw it, maybe.
Let's try again.
That's odd.
Did we delete it too quickly?
We saw it once. If the position X is less than, I don't think so. You can try put a print there if you want, but I don't think that will be called yet. Or you can run it in debug mode too.
This is similar to console.log. You can go
exactly.
Just put that back in, right? If we want. I don't know why I do that. It's just like, yep.
Yeah, exactly. Can do that.
So let's see here. Rerun this.
It's complaining at something there though. What or is that just something from VS Code?
Yeah, I think it's just VS Code complaining. I think. Interesting. I don't see a yep, and I think that would come out in the debug console.
Okay, so if you add a print there in the onload instead, and you can so up in the exactly, and just print its position in the end. So after line 34, and we can see where it is. And yes, position, and then we have the debug console there. And yes, because of that, it worked.
What?
How annoying!
What? I don't understand that.
Try rerunning it again.
Position that showed up. Should I comment this out and try it again?
Yeah, sure, do that. Okay.
I don't understand.
Maybe it didn't save properly before or something, and just ran that.
Maybe that's what I was complaining about. I just totally ignored it.
Yeah, because now it doesn't look like it's complaining on the reader. Okay, that's good. At least I don't have to care about that anymore.
Oh, I hit the top. Don't hit the top either.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want to hit the the upper sky limit where you suffocate.
Okay, cool.
All right, so now we're gonna use this box stack more properly then.
All right. So
if we go back to the game,
okay,
and we can add, if we scroll down, we can override. Have we overridden update here yet? No, we haven't. So you can override update yet again.
up here a little bit.
Exactly. And we can create a private variable called time since box, like above the update.
Oops.
So this one we want outside to be global. And private variables in Dart are a bit interesting. You don't define them like that. You define them by having an underscore in the beginning of
I
the
wondered.
name.
Okay.
So you can do double and then underscore time since box, and then equals to 0.
Sorry, time since box. Like
Yeah,
that?
or something like that. That's the time since the last time we put in a box there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would have a little what's it called, like the owning. It's not times like multiplication. It is.
How many
whatever.
occurrences?
Yeah, like oh, not times. Yes, it should be just time. Now I see why it's confusing.
I got you.
Time since box.
I should have recognized that.
And in this one, we want to add up these delta times. So we can call super update first, and then after the super update, we can start doing things.
Go back.
And then, so this DTs is the time that have passed. So we can just do time since box and plus equals to DT. So that just adds on time that has passed into time since box.
Cool.
And then we can do if time since box is larger than then we can create another variable that we call like box interval, maybe. So underscore box interval above there. So that that one you can have outside of that one too.
Just 0 again.
And no, so that one is like how often we want these pillars of boxes to come in. So we can have like once a second maybe to start with.
Just do that then.
Yeah, we can modify these values later and see how hard the game is to play. So just underscore box interval. And then
box interval time.
It's just the box there that you have a small b on in the time since box.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly there. And here we just add a box stack. So add box stack. And that one takes. Yeah, exactly.
Box stack.
And that one takes this is bottom thing. So we want to have as a name parameter there, we have to is bottom. And do we have random in here? I don't think we do, right?
I think we just did true. Yeah, right now.
Yeah. Then we can create a random object in here that we can use to get booleans from.
Should I take that out?
Yeah, you can remove that one. And then like somewhere, yes, create a final random and equals to random.
Do we have to do random bool?
No, just semicolon. Because now we're going to use this object, reuse this object all the time. So we can do here, you do random.nextBool.
Oh, gotcha.
So that it is random whether the stack will be in
the
bottom.
So it's an object of randomness, and then you use what type. Okay.
Exactly, because in Dart and object-oriented languages, new objects are quite expensive, especially if you run them in things like update, because that one runs once 60 times per second. So you just like massive amounts of objects all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay.
And when we have done this, we want to set time since box to 0.
Okay.
Because otherwise, as soon as it has gotten up to 0, it will always fulfill that. So it will be boxes everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what happens now if we run it.
Let's do this. All right.
Where now the boxes are gone again.
Something is off again. So box interval is 1, so that's greater than 0? I don't think so. 0 is not greater than 1. So we must have start this as 1?
No, but it should, since box will go up all the time there on line 33. It should eventually, after 1 second, it should be larger than box interval.
Oh, because we're doing plus. Gotcha.
Exactly.
So okay, let me try restart a couple more times and see.
This,
yeah, that did it. I don't understand that. But
that's very weird.
Hey, we're flapping away.
Oh, nice. They're very short stacks, though. It's only 1 all the time. Why is it only 1 all the time? That's
I'm just gonna crash. Oh yeah. So we have random speed, right? But we don't have, or no, we have why is it random boxes? So we have box stack.
So if we go into the box stack again and have a look there, and we can see on the, if we go to the stack height there,
stack height.
Yeah, you can do a print of the stack height there, maybe, and we can see what
divided by box height. Okay, yeah.
So print it after so not the max stack height, but the stack height, so that we can see if it actually says 1 or if it is higher.
Is there a version of print that only works in debug?
Oh, do you know why you didn't see it before? Because it is
still don't know why.
Yeah, because now we can see it in the console here that it gets 0 sometimes. So the int there, it is when it does random next int, it includes the start of the range and excludes the end of the range. So if you do next int 1, it will always be 0. Or do next int 2, it will be 0 or 1, I guess. So if you do on max stack height there, or you just put +1 there on the next int.
Yeah, so here +1, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then that's good also, because then we know why we didn't see boxes for a long time, because they were just randomly not showing. Nice. And then if we want it to be even harder, then you can change the, so there we can see.
I was gonna say, we need to like flip those top boxes almost or something.
Yeah, either flip them or have the top
layer
to be rendered before the other one.
Yep.
So we can do that by, before we do that add all thing there, we have to reverse the list. So
okay.
So we can do if before the add there, just do wait, we can do it in the add all. That will be easy.
So we're looking, if it's in the top, we need to reverse, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can do it in the add all with one of these quick on the line 35 there.
There we go. So within here, right?
Yeah. So just do is bottom. No, you don't even have to do the if. So we do one of these ternary ones, and then question mark, and then boxes.
Or
it's like a short form of boxes.
Yeah, I should have put an E. I don't know why I put it. Anyway.
Boxes not reversed.
You can just call a list reverse. Okay, cool.
Exactly. So and then you will get back a new list. So hopefully this will fix our top boxes too. Yeah. Yes, very nice.
I'm apparently terrible at Flappy.
And then we can remove the debug mode from the player, maybe. So then we go to the player class.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I'm like, why do we need to do that? I was totally not even recognizing the pink.
Yeah. Once you've seen it for so long,
yeah.
There was even someone who made a Flame game that forgot to turn that off before they published it on the Play Store, and then they're like
staring at
this looks weird.
Holy.
Yeah. So now we should
Oh, look at Ember go.
Nice. Now we can remove the prints from that we added.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was asking you, is there a way to do print only during debug or no? Like
Yes, but
method
then you need like so in Flutter you can do it with debug print. I think so. There's even a linting rule that says like, oh, you shouldn't use print in production, la la la, and then use debug print instead.
Okay, cool.
And you can also use like loggers with different.
Yeah, that's what I was really wondering.
Yeah,
I'm really bad about using loggers in JavaScript too. So
yeah. They're so nice when you have big applications and you need different log levels to.
Do we have a max? So we did max of the screen. So if I go bigger, we should get more boxes, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
And you can, we can set it so that it increments the speed a little bit all the time.
Yeah, like it's
once you die,
harder and harder. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I like it. Cool.
So if you go to the game again, and then you can just do after their time since box.
Okay.
Not in the update method. So we want to like update all the time. That always the time goes a little bit faster.
Okay.
So then you can just do, since we already have a speed variable, then you can do speed plus equals to maybe 10 times dt. So that
times.
will, yeah. So that
I'm
means
not that good.
We'll see. Maybe you are. Maybe you have undiscovered talents. Maybe you'll quit your job and become a professional Flappy Birds player.
Oh man!
Oh, that's a hard one.
Oh,
oh, that's unlucky to start with that.
I almost, we need to in the beginning also space further and then get closer.
Yeah, exactly. So you and maybe have the like box height in different heights too. But I think I actually have to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say this has been great. I think we did all of Flappy Bird, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And like what people can add more is, like we said, you can make it so that it's few boxes in the beginning and that the spacing is farther away, and you can fiddle around with the speed. And also, if you add a parallax component as the background, it will look amazing too.
Yeah, that'd be really sweet.
Yeah. Flameengine.org. Exactly. And if you want to join our Discord, where there's like a great community there's a link there in the top with an invite link. Yep. And if you need help with anything, people are super friendly there. And if you have, so that's really nice. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's just like it says here, it's Spydon, where I post more like internal stuff about Flame.